Good morning and welcome to the Daily AI News Digest. It's Monday, March 2nd, 2026. Today, we're tracking a series of absolutely pivotal events that have reshaped the AI landscape overnight. We're talking about a historic funding round that kicks off a new industrial era for AI, the powerful new silicon that's making it all possible, and a landmark global declaration that's set to redefine the entire balance of power in tech. All right, let's start with the number that is dominating every headline today: $110 billion. That's not a typo. That's the final number on OpenAI's latest private funding round. And honestly, it's a figure that's doing more than just making waves. It's completely realigning the tech sector as we know it. And just to be clear, this isn't just big. It is the largest single capital raise in the history of the tech industry, period. But the real story here isn't just the money. It's what the money represents. We're seeing a massive shift. AI is no longer just a research project or a cool software play. It's now in its infrastructure phase. Think about the scale of building the national highway system or the global energy grid. That's the kind of capital-intensive era we have just entered. So, let's get into our lead story. Where is all this money going? Well, it's all aimed at one single massive objective: achieving what folks on the inside are calling compute hegemony. And what that really means is gaining almost total control over the massive amount of computational power you need to build and run these cutting-edge AI models. And you know, who's writing these checks is just as telling as the amount. Amazon is leading the charge with a whopping $50 billion. They're clearly looking to weld OpenAI's tech right into the core of their cloud services and chip platforms. Then you've got NVIDIA and SoftBank, both in for $30 billion. Their goal is pretty blunt. They want to create what's being called a compute moat, basically a barrier of raw processing power so huge that it becomes almost impossible for anyone else to even try to compete at this level. So what does this buy them? Well, for starters, a post-money valuation of $840 billion, and that's backed by a user base of 900 million people using their services every single week. But here's the next big move. They're not just staying in the software world. They're building a dedicated consumer AI device, and they brought in Johnny Ive, the design genius from Apple, to lead it. The goal here is ambitious to say the least. They want to completely bypass the Apple and Google app stores and create their own direct-to-consumer AI platform. Okay, but ambitions on that scale, they need a whole new class of hardware to even get off the ground. And it just so happens that over at Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, we're getting a look at exactly what that hardware is going to be. The big news is coming from NVIDIA. They've just officially unveiled the Rubin platform. This is the successor to the Blackwell architecture, which was already a massive success. But the core innovation here is just staggering. We're talking about a 10x reduction in the cost of AI inference. Now, inference is basically the cost of getting an answer from an AI. Making that 10 times cheaper? That's a true game changer. It basically turns high-level machine reasoning into a commodity, something so cheap you can deploy armies of autonomous AI agents across your entire company. And when you look at the specs, you can see just how big of a leap this is. The new Rubin GPU is pushing out 50 petaflops of AI compute. The new interconnect, NVLink 6, doubles the bandwidth. Look, this isn't just a little yearly update. This is a fundamental step change in what's possible. It's been engineered from the ground up to handle exactly the kind of massive AI agent traffic that companies like OpenAI are planning for. And we're not just talking about abstract power in a data center. We're already seeing it show up in actual products. Over at MWC, Lenovo just showed off its Yoga Book Pro 3D concept. It's a laptop that uses all this new on-device AI power to create glasses-free 3D visuals in real time. It's a really clear sign of where things are headed. Hardware interfaces are getting smarter, more fluid, with AI just sort of dynamically managing how we see and interact with our devices. Now, all this consolidation of power in the corporate world, it doesn't happen in a bubble, right? It's forcing governments around the world to respond. So while the tech world is focusing on the new hardware in Barcelona, a really important summit just wrapped up in New Delhi, and its implications are truly global. Out of that summit came what's being called the New Delhi Declaration, and it's been endorsed by 91 countries. The whole point is to tackle the growing AI divide between the global north and south. The key goal here is a concept called AI sovereignty. It's about empowering nations to control their own data, build their own models, and basically own their own digital destiny. And this isn't just talk, it's already sparked over $200 billion in pledged investments. And if you look at the numbers coming out of India alone, the scale is just mind-blowing. Reliance Industries has pledged $110 billion for its own sovereign AI infrastructure. Adani Enterprises is right there with a commitment of $100 billion. I mean, this is a powerful signal that the future of AI development is not just going to be a Silicon Valley story anymore. So when you have this much capital and this much geopolitical will flooding into a single area, the Wild West days are officially over. The rules of the game are being written right now. We're seeing powerful ripple effects, with new red lines being drawn in regulation, in military ethics, and even in finance. First up, regulation. The period of uncertainty is pretty much done. We now have concrete enforcement dates for the EU AI Act. Most of the major rules on transparency and so on, they become applicable this August. And why does this matter so much? Because the EU has a knack for setting the global standard. Their rules on safety are essentially creating a baseline that any company wanting to do business in Europe is going to have to meet. Next, we have an ethical red line being drawn, and this one is coming from inside the industry itself. In what's become a pretty high-stakes standoff with the Pentagon, Anthropic's CEO Dario Amodei has come out and publicly stated that their model, Claude, cannot and will not be used for fully autonomous lethal weapons. This is a huge deal. It's one of the top AI labs setting a hard boundary on military use and insisting on the need for what they call a meaningful off switch. And finally, there's a new red line in finance. The venture capital world is basically saying the party's over for easy AI money. Back in 2024, you could get funding just by building a simple wrapper app on top of somebody else's model. Not anymore. As of today, VCs are demanding real defensibility. You need your own proprietary data, a real technical moat, and you have to prove you can actually sell to large enterprises. The speculative gold rush, it's over. So what does this all add up to? Well, this new industrial reality, all this money and power, it's forcing the entire field to rethink its ultimate goals. We're seeing a shift away from some of the more abstract science fiction ideas toward more practical, grounded definitions of what intelligence even is. There's a fascinating new paper out from some of the top researchers in the field, and they're arguing it's time to move on from the hyped-up, kind of vague concept of artificial general intelligence, or AGI. Instead, they're proposing a new target, a new North Star, superhuman adaptable intelligence, or SAI. The idea is, instead of chasing some kind of godlike general mind, let's focus on building systems that can achieve verifiable, superhuman performance on specific, really valuable tasks. It's a much more pragmatic, utility-focused way of thinking about the future. So, when you put it all together, the industrial-scale money, machine reasoning becoming a cheap commodity, and this global push for sovereignty, it all points in one direction. We're in a mature industrial AI era now. This isn't a lab experiment anymore. It's critical global infrastructure. And that leaves us with the one question that really matters in this new age. When machine thought becomes cheaper and faster than human thought, who gets to draw the line and define what meaningful human control really means?